So I think the idea about having a sense of environmental stewardship and social responsibility is like core. It's not something that gets added to the work that's either project work or even my own. I live in a house that's a zero emissions house. I drive a zero emissions vehicle. And those are easy things. In fact, I came across an article recently that talked about, well, there's the enthusiasts and there's the minimalists when it comes to kind of environmental responsibility issues. And they talk about the minimalists are the ones that kind of like they are light touch on the land, and they do a lot of things about their own kind of path. And the enthusiasts are the ones who like look at new policies and new technologies to try to solve the issues around us. And I kind of vacillate between the two a little bit, but I think there are some real opportunities ahead of us to solve some really pressing issues in our society, in our planet, and that's important. That's like sort of grounding element for what that's about. And on sort of people who've been sources of inspiration or leaders or mentors, I'll tell a fun little story. It goes off on a little side, but as a graduate student, as an intern, I was working in an organization called the Milwaukee Redevelopment Corporation, and we sponsored speakers that would come in. And I had the opportunity to host one of the speakers coming in from the outside. His name was Edmund Bacon. And Edmund was the city of Philadelphia city planner, and he had just released a book, and he had some film coming out. And one of my tasks was to coordinate this. This was before cell phones, it was barely fax machines, those kinds of things. So we had to call and make these arrangements. And I was going to pick him up in my little VW Golf at the airport and bring Edmund Bacon, this speaker, this thought leader, world famous thought leader, to this conference. And then he called up and said, oh, I've got my sons are around. Can they come with me? Sure. Okay. We all piled in my little car. We took him to the hotel, and they said, well, why don't you have a drink and dinner with us? Sure. So anyways, the presentation went great. My hero at the time, Edmund Bacon, was terrific. And I was like in awe of Edmund Bacon. And after the meeting, everyone said, well, how was it? And I said, Edmund was great. No. Like his son. I go, yeah, whatever. I don't remember their names. Kevin is Edmund Bacon's son. And so I had no idea that Kevin
Bacon was in your Volkswagen Golf?
In my Volkswagen Golf, the back seat had to have his bag on top of his lap. And, we had dinner together, but I'm sure he doesn't remember that himself, but is memorable for me, but only because of his dad. His dad was the person that was like, a source of inspiration. So
6 degrees.
Along the course of my career, there's been moments of like meeting with John Kerry, the Secretary of State, in Milan at the Milan Expo in 2015 to try to convince him. He had just broken his leg from a bicycle accident, about kind of supporting the Minnesota effort. So, there's moments of time like that we all need to kind of recognize and take advantage of, and kind of live in the moment about what those are. And so I'd say it's a more of a accumulation of those experiences that have kind of formed my point of view.